Hi, I'm Garrett Salpeter, the founder of Neufit. I'm coming at you today from my home office, and I'm excited to share with you some of the principles that make our work so effective. So Neufit is my company, and we have a unique type of electrical stimulation that we use to help people reprogram their nervous systems for faster healing and high performance. There's a ton of value in the technology that we use, but a large part of the value also comes from the methods and the techniques that we use, and that's a lot of what I'm going to share with you here today. So the nervous system is paramount. It's very important. It's the cornerstone of what we do. Everything we do is focused on the nervous system, and I'm going to share with you today how a neurological focus can help you get more out of your training. So when you apply these principles, results tend to come a lot faster. The nervous system, best way to think about it is as if it is a loop. So I'm going to draw a body here. So the nervous system is constantly perceiving the environment, what's going on around us in the outside, what's going on inside of us in the internal environment. Constantly sensing and perceiving what's happening. So imagine you step on something here, you're on the surface, that information is going to be relayed up to the spinal cord into the brain, and this is the input side of the loop. Then of course the brain and the spinal cord, they're going to sense that information. The brain is going to integrate that information. It's going to figure out what's going on. It's going to create a response, and then it's going to send an output back to the body. So the nervous system works in this sort of loop capacity. And this is very important, particularly for fitness and the types of things that most people are looking for when they train. This is very important because these neurological outputs are things like, of course, movement, things that we know. Pain is another that can be very important. Also things like hormones. Your brain actually sends signals that trigger the releases of hormones or not releasing hormones. And so things like cortisol levels, which can cause people to store excessive body fat and can wreak havoc on your metabolic system, energy systems, that's controlled neurologically. Also, metabolic rate is controlled neurologically. So the inputs that we give into the nervous system are super, super important for fitness because that can trigger the right outputs neurologically or the wrong outputs. And of course, if we're trying to achieve results, we want to make sure we're getting the right inputs so that we get the right outputs. There's a couple other neurological concepts that I want to introduce here. A lot of times people are limited in what they can do in their fitness and their training because of pain. And so pain is an interesting phenomenon because it's a neurological output. It's actually an output from the brain. So if someone says pain is in your head, that is always true. So you can say, yes, that's true. It is for everybody because pain is an output from the brain. It's a signal to try to get you, the person, to try and change your behavior. And pain is a response to threat. So it doesn't always necessarily mean that there's damage. It may or may not mean that. It means that there's perceived threat. That could be damage to the body. It also could be stress at work or an argument with your spouse, something like that. And so what we want to do in training is teach the body to reduce its threat level. So that's a very powerful input, is the amount of threat coming in. And threat can be literally a tiger coming into my office here and looking like it might attack me. That's super threatening. Threat could also be anything that causes stress in the body, psychological stress, like I mentioned, issues at work or an argument with a spouse. Threat can also be issues in the body itself. Remember, the nervous system is always perceiving what's going on inside the body, and there's this constant monitoring activity where the brain is always looking where the body is in space, where the limbs are, where the joints are, how the joints are positioned. And over time, because of previous injuries, bad habits, sometimes that information from the body, it's called proprioception, sometimes the quality of that information diminishes. So it would be like if you were looking at a map, and instead of being very clear, the map was kind of blurry. So it would be difficult to find the right route and difficult to understand that map. And so if my brain doesn't know exactly where my arm is in space, that is going to be threatening because my brain won't be able to know exactly where the arm is, it won't be able to predict what it needs to do next, and it won't be able to find a way out of trouble or protect me if something's happening. And so as a response, this threat level increases, and I'm more likely to have an output of pain. I'm also more likely to have an output of stress hormones, which are going to cause me to store fat and have issues in my fitness training. It's going to cause greater tension, less range of motion, less flexibility. It's going to cause a reduction in my athletic performance. And so there's a lot that can come from improving these inputs, in those areas. So the inputs that we give proprioception-wise from all the joints are one area where we're going to focus today, and we're going to do a routine where we go through the body and move all of the joints. And it can be as little as 5 or 10 minutes, and doing this as a daily practice can have a really profound effect by limiting that, reducing the threat response within the body, which is going to increase performance, increase the right kinds of hormones that we want, the anabolic hormones, to build more muscle tissue, keep the metabolism healthy, keep the whole body healthy and rebuilding on a regular basis. And it's going to help overall health and performance in many, many ways. One other major principle that I want to talk about is the specific adaptation to imposed demand. So it's commonly known as the SAID principle, S-A-I-D. What it means, specific adaptation to imposed demand, is that the body always adapts to exactly what it's doing. So if I sit at a desk like this for 20 years, my body is going to eventually adopt this position even when I'm not at my desk. And I'll be standing just like this. If I instead am in a position like this and actually stand in a way that I feel energetic, my body's going to learn to adopt that as a default pattern, and I'm going to be more upright and more energetic on a regular basis. So this is a very powerful principle, and in training, a lot of people miss out on what they could be accomplishing for this reason, because so many people train, and instead of being in a state, putting themselves into a state where they consciously want to be in more often, they put themselves in the opposite state. They teach themselves to be stressed out. They're panting through their mouths when they breathe. They're shortening their spine. They're creating excessive tension. And they think, oh gosh, I'm working so hard, I must be accomplishing something. But really, I'm teaching myself to adapt to being like this. And I don't know why my shoulder hurts after I train, or why I've had this crick in my neck, or why my blood pressure is so high. Because, of course, the nervous system also regulates heart rate and blood pressure. And so if I breathe in a way where I'm stressing myself out, I'm going to be affecting that in a negative way also. And so this is a very powerful principle. You'll see as we go through our follow-along workout here today that I'm going to be emphasizing a lot. Being in proper position, keeping the spine long, breathing through the nose, all of these inputs that are going to tell the brain that threat is low, the body's safe. The more and more exercise stimulation we can handle while staying in that state, the better and healthier and more dynamic the whole nervous system and the whole body, the whole organism is going to be. So that's a very, very powerful principle. And the takeaway that I hope you'll get from that is to always be aware of how you are being in the world, because however you are being in this moment, you're learning to be better at that. And we want to choose that very intentionally so that we adapt in a positive direction. And then one last point I want to cover is the notion here of the inverted U curve, so also known as a bell-shaped curve. So this describes a lot of data in statistical analysis. There's an average and then there's standard deviations. This describes a lot of different phenomenon in the world. In this case, we're going to talk about it from the perspective of optimizing the stimulus and the amount of training that you're doing in your workouts. So you can see here at this level is the peak. So this curve is the effect of the training. So over here on this end, there's too little. So this is like someone who is, can't get off the couch and won't even exercise at all. or when they do exercise, they might do like, 5 little wimpy movements and call it a day. So it's not nearly enough stimulation to get a result. As we start to do more and more and more, there's increasing returns. The results get better and better and better and better and better until you've reached the optimal amount. Then when someone starts to do too much, they actually end up getting worse. And so this is a trap that, that I fell in for a long time, and that so many people fall into, because we pay attention to the wrong things. We think, oh yeah, I'm breathing hard, I'm sweating, I'm pushing myself hard, I feel like I'm going to throw up, I feel, whatever, and we think, oh yeah, we must be achieving a result. But once we've gone down here, once we've done enough, and go past that point and start doing too much, where things start to break down, instead of being able to maintain this position while I'm training, I go into this position because the right muscles have stopped working, they've fatigued, or they've gone offline, and now the wrong ones are kicking in. I'm training myself in that moment to get worse. I'm training myself to use the wrong muscles. I'm training myself to be in a stressed out state. I'm training myself to increase my cortisol levels. I'm training myself to get less healthy as a human being, which is not only going to harm my performance, it's going to harm my overall health and life experience. And so this concept here becomes very important. So in training, we want to be able to do as much as we can while maintaining the highest quality of effort and activity, and not so much to the point where we go down the other side of that curve there, where we've done too much, that things start to break down, and we end up training ourselves to get worse. So this balancing act becomes super important. So now that we have this neurological foundation, I hope you understand why looking at fitness through a neurological lens is important. And we're going to show you a few things that you can follow along with at home with no equipment to start implementing some of these principles and adding them into your regimen. Hi, I'm Garrett Salpeter, the founder of Neufit. We use a very unique type of electrical stimulation technology to create change within the body to help people recover faster from injury and to achieve great fitness and high performance much faster than they normally can do on their own. The cool part about our technology is that it allows us to reprogram and repattern the nervous system. But it's not just the technology that does that. It's the combination of the technology with very powerful principles and techniques, and that combination together is what allows us to get such incredible results with our clients. So today, what I'm here to share with you is some of these powerful neurological principles, and to teach you, what they are and how you can apply them into your fitness routine so you can maximize your results, minimize all the downsides and the negatives that often come from training, and allow you to supercharge your fitness efforts in parallel with all the nutritional changes and the positive lifestyle strategies that you're implementing.